going to give you my reason, a reason that has not been discussed a lot in the media, on how and why the Indiana Fever clinched their first playoff spot in the last 8 years. And that reason is not solely just because of Caitlyn Clark. It is a reason that is not being talked about enough. And I'm about to tell you that reasoning. Now, look, give me about 3 minutes to explain this to you. If you don't agree with me, you can disagree with me and tell me. But just give me 3 minutes to explain to you what I think has been a central thing for this team after the Olympic break. Since the Olympic break, the Indiana Fever are 6-1. And if you remember how the Indiana Fever played in the beginning of the season to now, it is night and day. The chemistry is different. The feel is different. They all seem just happy and joyful. And it seems like a burden has been lifted off their shoulders in a sense. Because if you remember in the beginning of the season, it was a lot of narratives and things being said out there that the teammates were jealous of Caitlyn Clark, that they weren't able to play to her speed, that this team couldn't get it done together, that they needed to change things up. All the negative things that you could think of, and you could see the toll that it started to play on that team. But now you look at this team and there's a closeness, there's a knitness. That doesn't come from just basketball. That comes from vulnerability. That comes from emotional connection. And that's what I think the Indiana Fever have finally unlocked. The one worry about Caitlyn Clark throughout her entire basketball career from high school to college to now the WNBA, the one thing that has been always worried about from coaches' aspects of her is that her process of trusting teammates. That has always been something that she's had to deal with, to work on, and to really find herself being vulnerable with teammates to make sure that everyone is aligned for the common goal, which is winning. She's the ultimate competitor. And with that comes moments of flare-ups and outbursts and sometimes being a step ahead of everyone else and feeling as though no one else is trying to match the speed that you're going at. And it causes you to go in a shell, causes you to start relying on yourself more than everybody else. And we saw glimpses of that in the beginning of the season of the Indiana Fever, but now we're seeing a difference. And I believe it is because trust has fully been unlocked for Caitlyn Clark. And for trust to truly be unlocked, you have to have very, very honest conversations. And Caitlyn Clark had those honest conversations at Iowa, which is why I believe that those same honest conversations have happened for the Fever. 9 months ago, this video was posted from Brett Ledbetter, and he does what drives winning, and he pretty much is a life coach that helps team dynamics, personal ambition, things like that. And in this video, this is the 2023 Iowa Hawkeyes team. You see Monica, you see Kate Martin, and you see Caitlyn Clark. They are having one of their sessions with Brett in this talk, and it's called Fact or Fiction. In this video, Kate Martin, which Caitlyn Clark says is one of the best leaders she's ever had, pretty much says that this team doesn't have any chemistry. Not as much chemistry as I've been on in different teams. And she does point out Caitlyn Clark, where she says, hey, me and Caitlyn are best friends. I hate to even put this on her because I wouldn't even want to be in her shoes, but sometimes things are different because of the atmosphere of her. This video was around December 3rd, so this is before they make the big March Madness push that ultimately leads them to the national championship game in 2023. As this is all being discussed, and Brett is really urging them to be specific, to say how they really feel, and obviously in the confines of it all, understand and have empathy for the other players, where in this case, it is Caitlyn, where she is visibly emotional and vulnerable in this entire clip where she's crying and tearing up. And she starts to speak about just her perspective of being in the spotlight of savior.
Program to do. It wasn't because I believed in myself. Like, I've always believed in myself no matter what. But it's because I believed in all of you. And I still do. But, like, I've had some really, really hard days, especially in the past. And I've had to cover up a lot of people. And, yeah, you guys probably think it's great. Like, I'm on ESPN all the time. I'm on SportsCenter all the time. Like, that shit's cool. Like, you probably all wish that you had that too. Like, it's awesome. It only lasts for one day, and I'm back here the next morning and I get yelled at, I get held accountable. Like, it's hard, but that's what you get when you're the best player. But I only know we're only going to go as far as it takes all of you, like, as good as all of you are. And I just want you to know that I believe and I trust you, like, way more than anything. I didn't want to have to be our savior versus NC State. I didn't want to have to do that. That was never my goal. But sometimes, like, that's the way I feel when I look around and everybody's just a blank stare and doesn't look like they want to play basketball today. So that only leaves me one option. But I don't want that. I want us to play like when we play Michigan every single day. And how fun is that? Like, everybody's happy, everybody's smiling. Everybody's involved. The bench is excited. The coaches are happy. Like, that's just fun basketball.
In that entire clip, Caitlyn puts emphasis on a few things. One, that she doesn't want to be labeled the savior, which she says to them, I didn't want to be the savior against NC State. But when I go into the huddle and everyone has a blank stare, I have no other option but to be. But truly, I want us to play how we played against Michigan State as a team. And what else does she highlight? Smiling, having fun, playing basketball. That's what I want to do. I don't want to be the Lone Ranger. But if I have to be, I will be. And this is what I think has been the turning point for the Indiana Fever. So just put this in perspective. She's 22 years old and you're going into the WNBA less than 3 months removed from your collegiate career. This is a conversation that you had with your team in 2023. And now you're about to start a whole new journey where the same things are being said about you, that you are the savior, that all this emphasis is on you. And I can imagine for her, that does make you, human nature, require you to almost go back to bad habits of being emotional on the court at times, sometimes being so visibly flustered that it discourages your teammates, not trusting that they are able to do what they're supposed to do. This is why I believe that there was some sort of team meeting during the Olympic break, maybe even before, where they had some honest truths very similar to that video with each other. Because this is something that Caitlyn has worked on, just being herself, being able to be vulnerable, to open up all that is. Because think about it, as a competitor like she is, you will be a little fearful that, hey, will everyone accept me for how I am? Can they accept when I have to turn this switch on? When maybe I'm not the best teammate at that time, but I will do whatever it takes for them. Can they accept, hey, when I'm happy and I'm joking, will they be able to accept me? And for this team, I can imagine that they also sat Caitlyn Clark down and said, look, we may have not been in your shoes fully, but we all were at some point the number one option on our collegiate teams. Some of us were number one picks as well, also won Rookie of the Year. We get to an extent what you're going to need from us on this basketball court, but you have to trust that we are also capable. We don't need you to be the savior every game for us to win. We just need you to be Caitlyn. I could just imagine how freeing that conversation, most likely if it even happened, was for Caitlyn. To be told, you just need to be yourself. We don't need you to force 30 points, 40 points for us to win. You go be you. We're gonna flow. As long as we're together as a team, everything will make sense. Where those points are naturally gonna come, but just go be you. And you see it from Caitlyn in this team. There's a flow, there's a synergy now in all of them where it's just a different vibe. And I do believe that that comes from very hard conversations. And that is the one thing I feel like has not been detailed enough just yet about this Indiana Fever team, is the work that I believe that this team has done behind the scenes to come together. And it's not come together in a manufactured way. It's a come together in, I want us to be a team. I need us all to trust each other, to feel this energy, and you see it. They are hitting on all cylinders. And that only comes from one, liking playing with each other, everyone feeling like they could be themselves. And for Caitlyn, her feeling like, okay, I can breathe a little bit. I could just go out there and play basketball and have fun. And I can trust that everyone else is also going to do what they need to do. When the Indiana Fever at the beginning of the season took all these Polaroids of all the players and had them write down their 2024 goals, you see everyone put playoffs, make the playoffs, be the greatest teammate. And Caitlyn put smile, as she isn't smiling in this photo. But it puts into perspective for you what is important to her. Feeling like a team, feeling like, hey, I have their back, they have mine, and I could just be Caitlyn. I could be Cece. I could be 22. I could be Deuce. I can just be my funny, goofy, silly, competitive self that they will accept me for all that I am, good, bad, or ugly. And that's what you're seeing from this Indiana Fever team right now. And now we're looking at an Indiana Fever team that is very much primed and prepped to be able to have some upsets early in the playoff and really make a run, because how they're playing right now, I don't see them slowing down anytime soon, but the Indiana Fever have done the work, and they're here.